10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 500. Hey everybody, as always, before we dive into the episode, just wanted to remind you, all of these episodes are available as YouTube videos on my YouTube channel. So just go on YouTube and search for my name, Nick Maynella. It should be the latest video on the channel. So if you want to see any of these examples that I'm talking about, I always put them on screen, and there are always other visual aids for you. Also, all of the stuff that we talk about in these episodes is always available as PDFs with backing tracks, trading tracks, all kinds of good stuff over on our site, Jazz School. Sign up to support the show with a small monthly donation, and you get everything we talk about in a ready-made package so you can start practicing right away. If you want to know more about that, just click the link in the description, and it will take you over to Jazz School. You get signed up, and then you can decide whether you want to support the channel or not. All right, let's get on to the episode. There's this Barry Harris exercise, the great master, teacher, and musician Barry Harris, that appears on its surface to be just a really simple scale exercise that has really changed the way that I think about and teach and practice the blues. So let's dive into it. So Barry has this exercise for practicing chord scales throughout a form, and it's very, very simple on the surface. So when you have one measure of one chord, you simply play up to the seventh and eighth notes. So the first two measures of a concert F blues. And then if you have two measures with one chord, you play up to the seventh and back down to the root in eighth notes. And that's basically it. So if we were to take this exercise all the way through the blues, it sounds like this. Now, a couple of great things about that. First of all, it sort of forces you to know all of your chord scales. And second, did you notice that even though I was playing that on a single line instrument, the saxophone, you knew it was the blues? I didn't need a backing track. I didn't need any kind of frame of reference through that exercise that, oh, that's an F blues. And this is the brilliance of the way that Barry thought and taught, was that he could take something that's just so simple on the surface, but make it the most melodic, swinging thing in the world. So I don't know about you, but I'm sort of in the business of taking an exercise from a master, legend teacher like this and trying to build on it, trying to connect the dots, trying to use it to my advantage beyond what the exercise actually is. And there's one thing that when I played that, you might be wondering, hey, what was that? That was a little bit different. Did you notice that in bar 7 and 8, we actually do something a little bit different? So what's happening in the second half of measure 8 is that the 6th chord is there, right? The 5 of 2, a dominant 6th chord in the key of F. And what Barry chooses to do there is so brilliant, right? Instead of landing obviously back on the root of the concert F chord, you land instead on the 3rd of that 6th chord. That 3rd is really, really the defining note of that chord. And so when I learned this exercise, I thought, man, that note, when I land on it, it's begging for more. It's begging for me to keep going. So because my ear told me, wants me to keep going, that's how I decided to take this exercise and build upon it. So I first started to ask myself, what do I actually hear there? So one of the things that I very, very naturally hear, do 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 da ba ba da. That is such a classic bebop sound. So I decided to use that. Well, that makes a lot of sense to my ear. I've heard it on dozens or maybe even hundreds of recordings of my favorite musicians. I've heard that phrase played before. Now on the saxophone, it's going way down into my low register. So I also decided to displace the octave. And I think that sounds really, really nice. Okay, so that's getting me into bar 9 in I think, a really, really cool way. Now, I want to note something here. I'm not actually thinking about what it is. I know it sounds cool. It's what my ear naturally heard after listening to lots and lots and lots of musicians play over the blues. So I'm not trying to codify it yet. I know it's a cool sound that has a lot of gravity that's pushing me into bar 9. So now I want to figure out what I hear after that downbeat in bar 9. What do I hear there? Do booty dot ba bo do bo boo bo be bo bo boo boom beep 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 dot ba boo 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 be boo 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 beep. Oh, well, I hear that's a really cool line. And guess what? That was kind of floating around in my ears. So now I want to figure it out on the saxophone. I'll probably try to sing the whole thing first. Boo boo doo boo 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 be boo 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 doo 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 be a ba dee dee dot ba doo doo boo boo ba doo doo boo 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 be boo doo boo doo did. I'm actually really pleased with myself that I could hear that and sing it somewhat accurately. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and forth between playing it and singing it. Boo bo doo 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 dee doo 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 dee a bo dee lee don ba bo doo bo doo bo dee bo doo boo doo dee. Now you also notice I'm doing the fingerings on saxophone because I'm trying to connect my ear, right? Because if I can sing this stuff, I have to be able to hear it. That's why singing is the best test for what you can actually hear. Because if you can sing it, pretty much guaranteed that you can hear it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to sing it. No buttons on the voice. So I'm just going to go back and forth and sing and play. Boo bo doo bo doo bo dee bo doo bo doo bo doo be a bo dee dee dot ba doo bo boo bo be bo doo doo did. Now, once I feel pretty good about that, I'm going to put it back into the larger context of the whole form of the blues. So in effect, what I did was I just wrote my own vocabulary based off of Barry's just sort of genius scale exercise. It seems so elementary on the surface, and now I've just walked out of it with an absolutely awesome piece of vocabulary that I didn't know it yet, but was actually floating around in my ears, and then I put it on the horn. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, I don't really hear anything in that part of the form. Well, I got some good news / bad news for you. The bad news is you may just have to go back and spend a lot more time with recordings, really, really listening to that part of the blues. And when you hear something you like, learn to sing what the artist is playing. And then you will have a whole bunch of really, really great stuff floating around in your ears. And is that really bad news at the end of the day? If you realize, wow, I actually can't hear anything over that part of the blues, I need to go back and spend more time with the recordings. That maybe is like the best decision you could ever make. And it's all coming to light because you realize, wow, I don't hear anything there. Okay, so what else do I hear there? I hear that very strongly. Well, that's really great because now that actually puts me on a completely different note on the downbeat of bar 9. So what do I hear after I land on that note, the concert D? Bum-bee boo ba-dee-ah, bum boo doo be ah. Bo bo do bo 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 de bo do bo do bo bo do do de da de bo do de do ba do bo ba 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 de da da de da. Now, I really went off of what I could hear, and I didn't second guess what I could hear. Do you notice that it turned out to be basically the same thing that I played before? The second half of the 2-5-1 progression, it happened to be very close to what I sang before. You know, I'm outlining the same arpeggio. I'm hitting that flat 9 over the 5 chord, but it's different enough that I actually really like it. And do you see how I trusted my ears and I just went with those? I went with what I could hear, and then afterward I realized, oh geez, this is actually pretty similar to the other thing that I wrote. I'm actually learning what I can hear, which is a really great result. Okay, so now if I took this and I put it in the larger context, wow, another really great piece of vocabulary. And the thing that I've noticed over the years, when I figure out vocabulary based off of what I can hear already, it sticks. Because it's already floating around in there. I already know the vocabulary because I can hear it. Now I'm just translating the vocabulary I already have floating around in my head and in my ears onto this thing. And I find that to be the stuff that sticks, rather than looking at a page and seeing something that looks cool or sounds cool to my ears, but I can't sing it, so I actually can't hear it. That's the stuff I find that sticks the least. So what should you walk away from this with? Well, the first thing I would say is that you need to learn that initial scale exercise over the blues. I think it's a fantastic thing to learn. You should also be able to go through the blues and sing every note of that exercise because, again, it means you could truly hear it. That's where I would start. And in the description below, I'll have a link where you can get your hands on the exercise so that you don't have to keep rewinding this video and going through it. You'll have it there so you could start working on it right away. And then maybe you can start doing what I was just doing. Test yourself to see if you can hear something after you land on that third of the 6th chord. What do you hear? Can you hear anything? Maybe you can hear and sing some really hip stuff that you can't yet play. Translate that into something you can actually play on your instrument. Write your own vocabulary. And I will also provide in the link in that description the stuff that I put together. So maybe you have some fodder to sing some stuff. Maybe you have a little bit of inspiration based off of what I'm doing. But you need to write your own. That's really, really crucial. And get used to singing. You know, we all chose these instruments because we don't really like singing. Get over it. Start singing and watch. Watch how much better you get at these instruments that are just like hunks of metal or keys or whatever it might be. The other thing I realized is that we can use this principle of connecting the dots ourselves using what Barry has provided us with inspiration in many other places in the blues form. And that's what we'll go over in part 2 of this series, because there's a lot more opportunities to turn this elementary exercise into something that can completely change the way that we play and hear the blues. So if you like this video, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss part 2. And consider hitting that link to get all the resources. Those are reserved for people that are supporting the channel with a very, very small monthly donation. And that really helps keep us going and provides us the support to keep these lessons coming out. All right, I will see you in the comments. Hope everybody's having a good one. As always, thanks for hanging, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.